Hey, I am Jessica Jones, aka the Cryptid Huntress. First and foremost, I'm a Bigfoot field researcher, or that's how I started out. And some of you guys might have seen my show. I am a weekend host at Spaced Out Radio, and I also have a YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. And yes, I never meant to go public with any of this, okay, but here I am today. Talking about not only cryptids, but I've been trained in remote viewing as well through my cryptid research and the head of my team, one of my teams. I'm actually a member of 3 different boots on the ground field research teams down in the South. I'm from Georgia. And I'm going to give you guys today a little bit of history about me and how I got into the cryptid field, and a little bit about our research, my team's research, and then we're going to get into some of this really cool remote viewing stuff that I do, because I remote view very unconventional types of targets. Well, with this crowd, you guys are like head and shoulders above a lot of group. I'm not putting down any groups I talk to, you guys, but spiritually, like you guys are. It's a different level, okay? It's a different level here. So you guys are on my frequency. More so than some of the other, I'm not gonna put my foot in my mouth, okay? Let me stop while I'm ahead, okay? But yeah, I know. I also have jokes too, by the way. So, all right, let me rewind a little bit, because we're gonna go back to the beginning when I first started doing Bigfoot field research. And I like to say that I started off as a Bigfoot field researcher. Now we're kind of into everything when it comes to the paranormal. I'm one of those people who went out into the field to go see if Bigfoot was real, right? Sasquatch. If it was real, I wanted to see. I wanted to experience it for myself. And boy, did I bite off more than I could chew that first weekend that I went out doing Bigfoot field research. Now, back in 2011, my mother was attending these small group meetings in the place that is called Marietta, Georgia. A man's house, his name was Sam, Mr. Sam's house. And every Wednesday night, he would have a meetup where he would bring people in that talked about ghost hunting, Bigfoot, cryptids, people that did magic tricks, like gold and silver or any kind of survivalist stuff. I mean, it was just like a variety show. And every Wednesday night, they'd have somebody different to come speak. And it was really popular amongst like the New Age crowd, metaphysical people, ghost hunters, whatever. People just wanted to know more, to know the truth about stuff, and had inquisitive minds. And my mother was a part of that. I come from a long line of very psychic women, people in my family who have had a lot of experiences with the paranormal, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But yeah, my mom contacted me and said, "Hey, Jessica, there's these men that are coming to Sam's on Wednesday, and they are Bigfoot field researchers, and I think you would enjoy that." And so I said, "All right, Mom, I'll join you, on this trip." So I went, and if nothing else, it'd be entertaining, right? And I had always had an interest in the paranormal. I had been seeing ghosts since I was a kid. All my science projects when I was, in second grade, I was obsessed with black holes and everything that had to do with UFOs and ETs. Go figure, right? So I think most of us probably were, a lot of people in this room right now. But yeah, I met my mom there, and these men were giving a presentation on their Bigfoot field research. They had pictures of tracks, which are the footprints, of gigantic Sasquatch beings, and where they had casted some tracks, some prints. They had a very different approach to the research, though, right? They not only were going out there and, are all very seasoned professional trackers, current and former military guys, search and rescue fellas. They did tracking videos. They trained people in tracking. Even law enforcement, they trained in tracking. Cave specialists, cave divers, search and rescue people for caves, things like that. They had a pretty dynamic team already. And of course, they were showing us all this, all this evidence, and they were talking about the mind, body, spirit element of Sasquatch, and how they didn't talk about remote viewing at the time, But the head of the team was talking about like a spiritual kind of side to it. And I thought that was kind of cool. And after they got done with their presentation, I raised my hand and I was like, all right, so where's the body? Okay, why have you guys not found a body? And where's the poop? Okay, where's the poop? Not like I really wanted to know for sure about the poop, but I was just asking. And those gentlemen saw that I had a big, a pretty inquisitive mind and an interest in knowing more. And they invited me out the next month. They were going to have an expedition in the North Georgia mountains. And I lived in downtown Atlanta at the time. And I said, they said, well, hey, would you like to come with us on an expedition? And I thought, yeah, okay, what better way to find out if there's a Bigfoot than to go into the woods with a bunch of strange men for a whole weekend? And, right. So I said, yeah, I said, I'll try to come. I'll try to be there. And of course, on the inside, I was like, yes, I'm going on a Bigfoot hunt, And so they put me on their email list, and they sent me a list of stuff to buy or to take with me, like tents and hiking boots and lanterns and flashlights and headlamps and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? But I borrowed a bunch of equipment and I bought some things, and I had my butt there. I was actually there. I went to my first expedition in the North Georgia mountains with a bunch of strange men and a couple of women. And I had the time of my life. I'm not going to lie. Now, when I got to the mountains, there were a lot of really interesting people there from a lot of different backgrounds. And you name it, we had like military people there, people that are nurses, work in the ER, firemen, policemen, a lot of police officers, a lot of deputies and things like that. I personally, a little more background on myself, I, at the time, was working for the state of Georgia. I was the executive director of the Georgia Commission on Women, and I had been doing that. I've worked there for almost 20 years. So, of course, I was not telling my colleagues that I was going Bigfooting, okay? So every time I would ever go Bigfooting, I just said I was going camping, okay? But yeah, we all had, this was in 2011, and not every car on the road had a Bigfoot sticker on it back then, like they do now. So it's gotten very popular because of those TV shows, I guess. But yeah, so I got out there, and I told the guys, I said, okay, I just want to know if Bigfoot's real. Put me in the weirdest predicaments, okay? Put me out there, use me as bait, whatever. I don't care. Because I went out there, I didn't go out there just to go meet people and, have a good time. I went out there to go see if Bigfoot was real, if Sasquatch were real. And yeah, I can tell you they're real. So the first night I was out there, I went with a group of guys, and what we do is we go in as a team. We have base camp. And now, to this day, this has been a while back, but to this day, we're all certified in ham radio. We all carry our CBs, our handheld Baofungs. We divide up into teams. We never go anywhere alone. And we always have somebody that does communications back at base camp. And we're constantly checking in, letting everybody know where we are, and kind of triangulating, like as to what region we're in out in the field, because we cover wide areas when we're out there. And my team goes to kind of the same spots pretty often now. We've been going to for years, because we kind of have like a relationship with the Sasquatch out there and the other beings that are out there. And I say other beings because it's not just Sasquatch out there. But the first night I went out there, we had, the guys had a little bit of activity the night before, and they knew that there was a field. We called it Field 1 at the time. Now it's called UFO Field. But we went out there, and the guys were like, hey, I said, what can I do? I want to go do something weird and something fun, right? Something scary. And they said, okay, well, why don't you walk up this hill? It was like an open area, and about 100 yards up the hill, there was a tree line. And they said, all right, Jessica, walk up to that tree line by yourself, okay? Because they had some Bigfoot activity in that corner the night before. And so I said, okay. And I put on my big girl panties, and I put on my backpack, and it was pitch dark, you guys. It was kind of late at night. And I started walking by myself. But here's the thing. I knew the guys were all watching me through their thermal imaging cameras, their FLIRs. And I knew that if anything ran out and grabbed me, they'd see it, and they could at least tell my mom what happened to me. Yes. I mean, I know it sounds horrible, but it was just, to me, it's normal at this point, okay, talking like that. And I know I sound crazy, but it is what it is. I was gonna go out knowing that Bigfoot was real, okay? So I made it about halfway up that hill, and I had a group of about 5 or 6 men down at the bottom of the hill watching me, and I heard one of those guys running up behind me, full speed. Okay, now I played rugby in college, and I know, and I was a back. I know what it's like, and I know what it feels like to have somebody run up behind me to tackle me. And that's exactly what I was experiencing. It was somebody running up behind me, full speed, and I was about to get tackled, is what I felt like. And you got to remember, I'm a little scared. I'll admit, I was a little scared, and by myself. And I heard one of the guys running. And I kept thinking, man, that is so not professional. What is this guy doing? Yeah. And as I braced myself for impact, I thought it was a person, kind of panned, what do you call it? I guess they hit the back of my legs. Swept. It's a sweep, okay? Swept the back of my legs. It didn't hurt, okay, but it definitely knocked me off balance. And I kind of jumped in the air, and whoever it was kept going. Well, I'm kind of, shocked, like, what the heck was that? And I'm looking, and there's nobody there. Well, my mind was racing. It's like, well, what could that have been? Like, who was that? I'm looking all over the place. There's nobody there. I knew the guys were watching me, but there was nobody there. And I looked around. There was no logs, there were no sticks, there was no nothing. And so I just kind of I made the executive decision to keep walking. And I kept walking, and I just kind of shrugged it off, like, well, that was really strange, but whatever, I must have been imagining things. And I started walking towards the tree line a little bit more, and one of the guys did walk up behind me. And I said, are you a human? Who are you? Because I was a little spooked at that point. However, now, can I say that was a Sasquatch that did that to me? No, I can't, because I don't know what that was. But it was absolutely something. There was something. When Craig made it up to where I was, one of my teammates, today he's my teammate, he said, we saw you kind of throw your arms up in there, and that was the distress call. Okay, if I got in trouble, I was going to throw my arms up in there. Well, apparently I kind of lost balance. My arms went up. And, I said, no, I'm fine. I just thought one of you guys was running after me. And he said, well, they didn't see anything in their cameras. But I know what I experienced. I know what I felt. I know what I heard. I know the energy. There was something out there. Now, as he and I were standing there talking, the guys are watching us from down at the bottom of the hill, and they're watching as a Sasquatch peeks its head around the tree right in front of me. But I can't see it with my own eyes. I don't have all that thermal stuff at the time, where I could see. But so we had that activity there that night. So this was the night that it was still known as field number 1. Now the next night we decided, let's go do it again, but let's do something a little more exciting. Okay, so my buddy J2T, one of my other teammates. Now I still wasn't on their team yet, y'all. Okay, but I was just there to have fun and see if Sasquatch was real. And so we decided we're going to do a black ops mission. Okay, and we were going to take our camo. You might see me, I wear camo like every day, by the way. I'm dressed up today. I love this so much. I'm having so much fun. But JT and I were going to go out there around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We were going to sit all day through the night we had seen that, the guys had seen the Bigfoot the night before. And I'd had that activity, whatever hit me. And so we went out there and we sat. I knew it was going to be a long day. Okay, we took all of our equipment, and by equipment, I mean I have ghost hunting equipment, and we carry equipment that is similar to what we use for like any kind of paranormal investigation. EVP recorders, REM pods. I hate REM pods, by the way. They're so annoying. okay? But we have Geiger counters, Geiger meters to test for radiation and things like that. You name it, we got it, okay? So we take our equipment out there. I got my backpack. JT and I went out there. We're going to sit all day and blend into the environment, become a tree, okay? And try to be camouflaged as much as we could be, in hopes that we could sit there all day. And like Sasquatch aren't smart enough to know we're out there or something, you know? Now I know you could wear bright orange or bright pink or bright green. They know you're there. It doesn't matter if you wear camo or not. It's an energetic thing, as most of us, we all know, right? But we went out there and we sat, and the plan was to bring the entire team back out to the field, that open field where I had been accosted by whatever that, invisible thing was. And the group was going to come out there, and they were going to be super loud, and they're going to bring like drums and didgeridoos and all sorts of weird, loud stuff to act like some rowdy humans. They were going to come out and bring their chairs. They were going to sing, do some tonal resonance stuff and all that kind of stuff. And we were in hopes that the Bigfoot that we saw the night before would walk up and be curious and step on top of me and JT. All right, so that was the plan. Well, we got out there, and I'm going to show you, I think actually, let's see, what do I do here? Okay, so I have a PowerPoint presentation for you guys today, thanks to Barry Littleton. Thank you, Barry. I'm borrowing his computer today. Woo! Yes. I was in Las Vegas broadcasting live with Spaced Out Radio, and my computer got zapped on the way over here, so my computer doesn't work, so thank you, Barry. Okay, so this, like all the locations that we research to this day are undisclosed. We don't give our locations away because we're still researching them to this day. I'm actually going to be out in the field on Saturday when I get back home this weekend. But this is one of the spots in North Georgia. This is UFO field. This is what I'm talking about. And where I'm taking this picture from here, this is where I was sitting, looking down towards the little forest road right there. And we call that it's like a little mountain right there, that hill. Okay, that hill is very significant, and it's going to be part of my story I'm about to tell you guys. Okay, so that grass down there at the bottom, that's the field. That's the grass where I was walking, and I got accosted by something the night before. So we're sitting in the tree line looking out towards that little hill right there, that mountain. And we sat there for a good while. JT and I were having a good time. My adrenaline was going, and from the night before. And I wasn't really all that tired or anything, and we were just kind of checking our equipment. We always got to make sure that the time's right on our equipment, the batteries are working, all that kind of stuff. We're just having some small talk, trying to be quiet, trying to blend in and be a tree. And we started, it started to get dark. Everything was all good until it started to get dark. And we started noticing that our equipment was malfunctioning a little bit right when the sun went down. And his clocks on his digital clocks were going forward an hour. Mine had gone backwards an hour. The batteries were draining way too fast. We hadn't been out there long enough for the batteries to start draining on anything. We started noticing when it got dark, we were seeing lights in the sky. And, we know the difference between satellites and stars and all that kind of stuff. Well, these lights we were seeing way up in the sky, they were moving in triangular patterns. And he and I were both thinking, well, are our eyes playing tricks on us? And, it was getting a little weird. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, a light showed up, a big, gigantic white light showed up in the middle of that hill right there. And mind you, it's on top of the hill, okay, on top of the trees. And there's no road there, and there's trails there, but this light was on top of the trees. And it was moving in a horizontal pattern, going right and left in a perfect line. And still, even though we were seeing that, our rational brains were still trying to make out what it was. Because we were thinking, well, it's got to be a hiker carrying a lantern. It's got to be headlights to a car. We went through everything we could possibly think of as to what that light was out there. We just couldn't wrap our heads around it being anything but like a hiker with a lantern, okay? But then the light went inside the trees kind of, and then it came back out. It was just really odd, okay? But we're still trying not to get too weirded out by it. By the way, JT was already trained in remote viewing, okay? And so and it's all about mind control. His mind was way more calm than mine was at that point. But yeah, we started feeling a little weird. I started getting a little bit tired, and we started seeing that light, and that was about the time the team came out, and they did their thing. They were loud. We never had any Bigfoot activity that we know of. But then as we were sitting there, the group didn't know where we were sitting. And about 10 feet from where he and I were sitting in the tree line, these 2 red lights started glowing in the tree line, and they thought it was us. It was about 10 feet from where I was sitting. It wasn't us. Well, about 12:30 that night, we left. We didn't think we had a whole lot of activity other than the equipment malfunctioning and things like that. So we ended up going back to base camp that night, and everybody kept saying, Jessica, you're acting weird. What's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm always weird. What's wrong with y'all? And people were noticing. I didn't know it, but I was definitely in a funky, weird state, apparently. And I just shrugged it off as being tired. But I think we all kind of knew that something more had happened out there in the field. And later, after I got home, I had the head of my team and we listened to my EVP recorder together. I was scared to listen to it by myself because I knew something had happened to us out there. And we listened to it, and lo and behold, about the time that I started getting tired and we had just seen that light over the trees, it sounded like bottle rockets were exploding all around me. Like, pew, 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 all around us. And it was so loud, but we never heard that with our own ears. Okay, well, that's with the head of my team. He already knew. He was like, all right, it's time for me to train you guys in remote viewing. We're going to start figuring out what's going on. I want you guys to be my little group of, let's just say kind of like Jedis, that kind of a thing. But in the cryptid world, basically, he was like, it's a really good tool in your toolbox, right? And I was like, what in the heck is remote viewing? I've never heard of that before. And he was like, I'm going to teach you. And so from that point on, we started learning remote viewing. And it had a lot to do with our cryptid stuff. Okay, I just have a picture. This is an example of one of our base camps, with my team. We go way out, really deep into the woods. This is actually at a location in North Georgia. I got to tell y'all, as much research as I've done since 2011, the highest concentration of Sasquatch that I've ever experienced are in the North Georgia mountains. And that's the truth. Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and show this slide. So, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'll go ahead and tell you what this. So you guys are familiar with the David Paulides Missing 411 series, I'm assuming. Everybody knows David Paulides in the Missing 411 books. Well, a lot of times when people ask me, like, where do my teams get the idea, because I'm on 3 different teams, where do we get the ideas for our locations that we study, we research? Well, first of all, we listen out for local legends and lore, okay? Because where there's a local legend, let's say like Spearfinger, the witch, the Cherokee legend, if you've got something like that going on in this area, there's usually a whole lot more activity going on. Like there's usually Sasquatch in the area, Dog Man, there's UFOs and all that kind of stuff. So we go places like that. Okay, one of the areas that my team researches, we call it the Skinwalker Ranch of the South. The head of that team actually wrote a book. It's called The Meadow Project. He took a bunch of our field notes and his personal story, and he made a book out of it. And he's been on coast to coast and all that stuff. So you might know Trey Hudson. That's the head of one of my teams. But yeah, I want to go back real quick because I've never talked about this publicly, about what happened to us out in that field. Okay, and so this is a world exclusive for you guys. When we did learn remote viewing, and I told you the guy I was out there with, J2T, he already knew how to remote view. We looked into what happened to J2T and I out there in that field, and we were absolutely accosted. I'm going to say accosted. We were singled out. We were found by a craft. And it had a being inside of it. And I say a being because I don't think it was human, okay? Through the remote viewing data, it appeared to be a triangular-shaped craft. They had detected something off in the environment out there. Well, guess what that was? That was me and J2T hiding, okay, in the tree line. It detected something hiding, something that was anomalous, that wasn't supposed to be out there. Well, it tracked us down, it honed in on us. This is through remote viewing, you guys, so this is what we saw, and I've never talked about this publicly. It saw us in the tree line, it detected us, it flew over us, and both of us basically were put to sleep, I guess you could say. And I remember feeling really, really tired out of nowhere, and I fell asleep. And as it came over us, these holograms came out. I know, I can talk to you guys, you probably don't think I'm too crazy, okay? And this is why I don't talk about this publicly, but like a hologram came out over both of our heads, okay? His head and my head had information about us on it, and it was like, okay, they're cool, and it flew off, okay? And then we woke back up, I guess. It was like missing time. He was remote viewing that missing time. Okay, so that's what happened out there. We had known that something more happened. From that point on, that became known, that hill, that area, that's the UFO field. Every time I go out there, we have Sasquatch activity. We have something that happens out there. It's an interesting area of research. All right, so this is the David Paulides missing 411 map right here. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly where these missing persons clusters are in relation to my research, but you can kind of take a guess. We're all down in the south, okay? And where we research, there are missing persons clusters. Now, if you take this missing person cluster map and you overlay it on top of the cave systems, it's pretty much the same, okay? When you overlay these on top of the deep underground military base maps, it's the same, okay? When you overlay the Bigfoot mapping project map over that with the Bigfoot sightings, it looks the same. They're all related, you guys. Now, can I say that I think that Bigfoot's taken all these missing people? No, absolutely not. But it is interesting, okay, that all of these different maps, and I only have two up here for comparison, but there's several maps that all, you overlay them and they look the same, including the Bigfoot map that I have. Okay, so let me see what the next slide is. I can't remember what my slides are. Here we go. So, a lot of people think that we have one type of Bigfoot. We've got Patty, right, from the Patty film, Patterson-Gimlin film. There's actually several different types of Bigfoots. And not only did I give you guys the Bigfoots, I brought up Dogman, because we're going to talk about Dogman today. Now, we're in an area up here. We're in Illinois, okay? And up here near Illinois, Ohio, there's a lot of Dogman reports. A lot of Dogman reports. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about the local cryptids here in just a little bit for this area. And they include Sasquatch, Dogman, a bunch of weird stuff I've never heard of, actually. I had to look these things up before I got up here. But yeah, we have type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. Now, Patty would be more like the type 1, okay? That's kind of the type that we have in North Georgia that are... they're like humans to me. The way I describe Sasquatch, you guys, they're just like humans. They're like us. They're just a lot bigger and a lot hairier. All right, there are good ones and there are bad ones. Some of them have great days and will love you, and some of them want to eat you. Okay, so they're all different. Now I'm probably going to go back to this Dogman slide here in just a little bit when we're talking about Dogman, because there's so many different types of Dogmen. They're actually like the type 4 Sasquatch. I'm gonna talk about that in just a minute, because I did a remote viewed a very popular, something very popular. Let's just say Paul Bunyan. Okay, we're gonna talk about that in a minute too. But that's more like a wild man. Back in the 1800s, there were a lot of newspaper articles that you can find to this day that talk about wild men. all over the country. And that was back when the newspapers told the truth for the most part. I don't know if they ever told the truth completely, but they didn't mind putting out information about wild men back then and weird cryptids and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we're going to get into all this. The type 3 down there, you don't want to mess with those. Those are called gugways and genosquas. And those are the ones that'll eat you, okay? They're more like they look like orangutans kind of, and they're a little more violent, okay? All right, let's see. What's the next slide? Okay, I'm going to go right into this, okay? We're going to talk about, because I don't know how much time I have, and I've got a lot to talk about today. So let's talk about something that's not too far from here. This is in Missouri. This is the Joe Bald Recreation Area, okay? I know this is a really blurry picture because I blew it up and I threw it. It's really blurry. So just, if you would like to see the video of this, you can go to my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Actually, you can go to D.A. Roberts, a D.A.X. Machina podcast. He and I have done a show on this. I was tasked with remote viewing an area called the Joe Bald Recreation Area in Missouri. Okay, I believe it's called Table Rock Lake. Is anybody familiar with that area? Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, this area is really interesting, okay? Because I know, let me rewind a little bit. So my entire team was trained in remote viewing, okay? And we spent from 2011, I mean, even today, we still train. I do coordinate remote viewing for the most part. We would spend weekends at a time actually, I'm going to tell you a little secret. We're down at my farm where there's no Wi-Fi, no TV, no cable, no nothing, no cell service. And it was a great place to learn remote viewing. And yeah, it's been a fun ride. I'm the only person out of everybody on my team that actually still remote views like all the time because I love it. But yeah, I've done everything from, whenever I'm assigned a target, if I get a high priority one, I get to help find like missing people and stuff, And going back to that map with the David Politis talking about the missing people, anytime I bring that up on my shows, people say, well, you're a remote viewer. You should be finding all these missing children. You should be finding all these missing people. Well, I do. I try, okay? And you can only do so many of those. It's very draining to try to get targets like that, but I digress. Okay, so of course, when people started finding out that I'm a remote viewer, by the way, I never meant to go public. I was kind of pushed out into the scene at Camp Disclosure about 2 years ago, where I met Barry and Chris, a whole bunch of other people that are here. I was asked to speak there just out of the blue, and as soon as I spoke there, I went on some shows, and I ended up getting my own show, and here I am today talking to you guys, okay? So, but the word got out, I'm not only a Bigfoot field researcher, but I do remote viewing, and the requests started pouring in to remote view things, and so I started getting tasked with remote viewing. Let's just say like alleged Bigfoot attacks, alleged dogman attacks, at places where, or incidents where people died under mysterious circumstances, and it was assumed or thought what could have been a dogman that did that, because there's a dogman in the area. That's kind of my specialty. I just remote view. I'm tasked these targets. I remote view the properties. I remote view the incident, whatever happened, and I can pretty much tell you. I give you a roundabout as to, well, was it a pack of wild dogs, yes or no? Okay, that kind of stuff. Well, so in this thing, it looks almost like a goat man looking around a corner. That's actually a tree. It looks like a goat man, right? When there's a hand down at the bottom. That's a terrible picture. I apologize, y'all. But my friend D.A. Roberts, who has his own podcast, he's an author. He's from Missouri. You guys might know him. He was shooting a promo video at Joe Bald Recreation Area. That's one of the settings of one of his books, or a couple of his books. And it was like a year later after he shot this, so a guy was watching the video and said, hey, there's something in the background there. You need to check that out and figure out what that is. It looks like a dog man, okay? And that the reports are there's a dog man out there. But I didn't know all that. I was given some coordinates and remote view the Joe Bald Rec area. Now, I'm talking about this with you guys today because the information was really odd, okay? I was picking up on the property. I could not get around the fact that my data was showing that there is an underground base there. Not any underground base. It's related to the secret space program. Okay, and I still don't know a whole lot about the secret space program. I'm new to all this. I know about Bigfoot, though. Okay, I know about cryptids, but I'm seeing in my data for a lot of these cryptid targets, I'm having data coming out of these targets that's secret space program stuff. Okay, and so I thought it would be interesting to show this to you guys today, all right, or just to talk to you about it. So I have my notes here because I don't want to leave anything out. But when I was remote viewing it, what I thought I was looking at was like Skinwalker Ranch out there. Okay, they have everything from Sasquatch to Dogman. I was picking up on little people. Okay, little people is a really cool subject. Aliens, UFOs. Okay, it turns out DA told me that there's a cluster of missing people there, and I had picked up on that there were missing people there, and that whatever was going on that property, the people who live there or work there know about it. Okay, now that's another thing that's a common theme in these attacks and these things that I'm looking into, all this data that I get. There's cover-ups. It's government cover-ups, agency cover-ups. And almost every single target that I'm looking into, there's a cover-up. Okay, and that's important. Okay, when I'm talking about Sasquatch, I'm talking about Dogman, it's important for me to get this information out there because this is dangerous. Okay, the next slide I'm gonna show you guys has to do with the land between the lakes up in Kentucky. We're gonna talk about that a little bit about that today, because I go camping a lot. I have an 8-year-old child, and I take my child camping. And there's a lot of things out in these national parks, state parks. Okay, I've been called out to state parks to do investigations. They have multiple Sasquatch sightings. There's a cover-up. There are people that know that there are these very dangerous cryptids in some of these parks, and they are still allowing people to go and take their children and to go camping. And they're not telling people that they are at their own risk. Their lives are at risk there, okay? And that makes me very mad. I don't take my son anywhere near the places that we research. Okay, I've taken him once during the day. I did let him spend the night one time. We slept in my truck, okay, because I will not let him be out in a tent. It's too dangerous. It's just very dangerous. But yet there are campgrounds close by with children playing and people wandering the woods at night. Okay, if they knew what I knew, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that unless they were well equipped. But we have portals. Okay, we have portals. We have all sorts of really strange things going on out there. Now, when I showed you the map of the missing people, I told you there's a missing persons cluster where we do some of our research. My team has documented a portal. Okay, and I feel like I'm kind of jumbling this all together because I know I don't have a lot of time and I want to hit this. Okay, my team has documented what we consider to be a portal. Okay, I don't have the pictures of that. We have a video. It has not been released to the public yet. If it were up to me, it would have been released like 5 years ago. Okay, it's not up to me. It's not my video. The head of my team apparently has signed some kind of stuff, something with a documentary company or something. So it'll be coming out, I promise. But we had a night where the team was out in the field, and a cube showed up in the FLIR in an open field. Nobody could wrap their head around, like, what is this cube out there in this field? Just showed up out of nowhere. It was about the size of a small shed, like a tool shed in your backyard. Okay, and one of the teams at the front of the field at the meadow sent some other guys over to check it out. 2 guys that are former military, one's former Navy, one Special Forces. The other guy, Grumpy, he was former Navy search and rescue guy. Both trained in remote viewing, so we know how to feel the energetics out there. We know when the energy shifts. We sense danger a mile away. Everybody does, for the most part, if you pay attention. But they were sent over to it. They couldn't see it with their own eyes. They walked over to this cube that just kind of showed up. You could only see it in your FLIR. There was a heat signature to it. They walked over to it, and their heat signatures disappeared into the cube. They said that the sensation they got as they walked up to it was like walking into a black velvet curtain. The temperature changed. They could not see the stars anymore, and the vegetation on the ground changed from brushy and thick and muddy and rough to smooth, like they were walking on like a hardwood floor. They both knew that there was something off, and we even lost radio contact for about a minute with them, with the CBs, with the Beofungs. Okay, so their heat signatures were gone. They didn't know they were gone. Okay, they didn't know, but they knew that there was something off. So they walked back out, I guess you could say. They turned around and walked back. Their heat signatures reappeared, and yeah, it was very odd, right? Very odd. As they walked out, the cube shrunk down, and then it moved, and it disappeared. And we have that documented. It's on camera, on film. Okay, and like I said, I don't have that film. It is under it's under contract right now, and it's not up to me, so I apologize for not having that. But I can tell you, I have been reprimanded by Grant Cameron for not releasing that, okay, if y'all know Grant Cameron. But anyways, it will be coming out. But when it comes down to these missing people, I think that perhaps, considering what my teammates encountered out there, I think that could be where some of the missing people are going. Can I say I know exactly what that is? Absolutely not. I don't know. But it's something, it's something. And we're out there, we actually had to come up with a protocol as to what we're going to do next time we encounter a cube. And it does involve rope, okay? It involves tying a rope around somebody. And of course, we're all like, okay, who has the best health insurance? Raise your hand. All right, who has the best life insurance? Raise your hand. That kind of stuff. And it's funny. We've joked about it, but however, both of the gentlemen who experienced that cube got very sick afterwards. There was a spike of radiation, and we know that they got hit with a dose of radiation when they walked over to it. Now, one of them has since died. Yes. And one of them got an aggressive form of cancer. So it is not, we don't say that that's the 100% the cause of it, but we all are very suspicious of that. So the stuff that we do out there, it's not for the faint of heart, and it's also very dangerous in a lot of ways. So not only are we worried about Dogman and Bigfoot, but now we're worried about radiation and portals, okay? So that happened. All right, so we're going to go back to, so this Joe Bald area, this is right in your neighborhood, y'all, okay? I did remote view this. My data, this is part of my data, right? Apparently this area has what they call watchers, okay? And I know now, like, people have different interpretations for the watchers, okay? But that was in my data, the watchers. Apparently there's some sort of laboratory underground in a facility there, according to my data, a laboratory where they were working on chimeras. Okay, chimeras. I was picking up the vibe. I had remote viewed an alleged attack on a family at the Land Between the Lakes who had been murdered by dogmen, allegedly. And I was getting the same vibe as that. There are facilities where these dogmen, these cryptids, are held underground. Okay, and in this particular one, in this picture, which I had remote viewed, was it looks like a goat man to me in this picture. I had not seen this picture. I was picking up on a dog man type creature, okay, but however, it was a chimera of some sort, okay. Now, the campground has since been shut down, this particular campground, and that did correlate with my data because those people know they're out there. They know they're out there. But I did get it was a laboratory, chimeras, and it's a layover hub for the secret space program. That was in my data. Okay, and 100% government cover-up, and I was picking up on a bunch of bunkers underground. I was seeing like tunnel systems and things like that underneath this facility. Now, and like I said, I don't know a whole lot about the secret space program, but I do know that there are underground bases and all that kind of stuff going on in that area. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I know I'm probably running short on time here. So one of the most popular cases that I've looked into, this is the Land Between the Lakes up in Kentucky. Now, the Land Between the Lakes is, I guess it's a national forest, I'm assuming, and it covers Tennessee and Kentucky, okay? Well, some very interesting cases have come out of the Land Between the Lakes involving dogman, and I didn't know a lot about dogman when I first started doing it, because I've never experienced a dogman before. We were strictly aliens and Bigfoot, okay? And I hadn't even told you all this part about just when I started getting into the Bigfoot stuff, I was told to start studying aliens and alien abductions, and I started waking up with aliens in my bedroom, okay, after that. So that's a whole other story, okay? But, all right, so a very popular story. I was tasked with remote viewing it was an attack on a family of 4, okay? I didn't know it was a family of 4. Out of Kentucky, a mom, a dad, a son, and a daughter. There was word on the street that from local law enforcement, some people that were involved, people that worked at the gas stations around the local area, they had told a story of in 1982, let me make sure I got the dates right, around the 1980s, a family had been attacked and they were brutally murdered at the land between the lakes. And the word was they were dogmen, okay? Dogmen had been spotted there, Sasquatch were spotted there. There's, talk about underground bases and all that kind of stuff as well, just like with a lot of these national parks. Okay, cave systems, you name it, they're out there. Okay, well, I'm tasked, I'm getting these targets. I'm seeing, first of all, when I start remote viewing stuff that people are like, I get a target, and Barry's really good at tasking me targets. A lot of times, Barry doesn't know if these things are real. But he wants to see if I'll get any data out of these targets, right? And Barry did not task me this target, but I immediately picked up, I saw 2 creatures as I was remote viewing, and they looked like hyenas, okay? But they were running on 2 legs. And even in my sketch, in my stage 3, my sketch, I was drawing what looked like a vehicle pulling something behind it. And I was showing the direction that something ran up and then something left. 2 things. I saw a complete massacre there were 4 people there, okay? 4 people. And gunshot, I heard 1 gunshot. I was picking up that there were people that I kept hearing trespass. They trespassed, okay? And a lot of these targets I'm looking at, there's always a lot of trespassing going on. That's why people are getting attacked by these cryptids, because they're trespassing into the areas where these things roam, and it's their territory. Okay, well, this family had unknowingly pulled into their territory, I guess. And 2 creatures, very large creatures that looked, I was hearing, and I did do a deep mind probe on when I picked up on an individual there. They said that these men came running out of the woods. They were big men. They looked like men, but they weren't men, okay? They weren't men. What I was seeing looked like a hyena, okay? Now, let me see. I don't know if I can go back. I don't know how to go back here. But on the slides that I was showing you guys earlier with the different types of dogmen, there is a type of dogman that looks like a hyena. And that is very similar to what I saw there, but it wasn't that brown color. It was actually kind of black. Okay, it was a darker color. But these things, what I was picking up on with the data, there were 2 trained assassins, okay, that escaped. They had been caged. They were kept underground in a facility there. They had gotten out to feed. Okay, I know that sounds terrible. They got out to feed. And I know, it's really bad. It's really bad. A lot of times with these targets, I pick up on stuff like that. And something that I've never said on any of my shows when I've talked about the LBL in this attack is they went straight for the adrenochrome. Okay? And, I just got goosebumps. Yes, the creatures that attacked these people, they were targeting the adrenochrome. Adrenochrome, yes. Adrenalized blood. Yeah, and I never say that on my show. If I ever mention it, I say adrenalized blood, and I kind of say it quickly, so people, I'm like, don't get my channel shut down, But a lot of these cryptids that are attacking people are going for the adrenochrome. And I'm not sure, I'm not an expert on that. It's just a part of the data, okay? But yeah, I think that absolutely this could be partly what's taking some of these missing people that are missing out of these parks, but I don't think it's all dogmen. But I do think the dogmen, according to my data, they are working in conjunction with whatever facilities are underground there. And not in every case, but in a lot of them. Okay, yeah. Oh, and also, beg your pardon? I think they're creating them and studying them. And they're also, chipped, collared. They keep track of these dogmen, by the way. They are very heavily watched. I have been in, doing these shows, I get contacted by some very interesting people with very interesting backgrounds, let's just say. And I've gotten some very interesting information. And they are all, I'm not going to say all tracked, but most of them are tracked. And when they get too unruly, they get eradicated. Okay, they do get eradicated. And that includes Sasquatch too, unfortunately. Okay, I mean, it's unfortunate for all of them. But yeah. Speaking of which, okay, so now I did a couple of targets on the giant of Kandahar. Okay, now this is one of my favorite subjects, are giants. Okay, and we have a lot of giants across the United States, as Brad will tell you. Okay, and a lot of giants we've had in the past, and this is one of them. This was from 2002, I believe. I was tasked the target of what happened to first of all to see if this was real, right? But it was what happened in Afghanistan with the giant of Kandahar, and I have remote viewed several different targets that involve giants. One was actually the attack of the 13-foot giant in the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia in 1829. Okay, that was a cool one. You guys, all these are on my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. All my shows, go to the playlist under remote viewing investigations, and I have shows on all this stuff. It's fascinating. Also, Judaculla. If you guys are anybody from North Carolina, there's a place called Judaculla Rock. And there's a legend, a Cherokee legend of Sukaloo. I did remote view, first of all, the rock up there. It's a very ancient petroglyph, a rock full of petroglyphs, and Sukaloo as well. And that's an interesting story. Y'all go check that out on my YouTube channel. We're going to talk about the giant of Kandahar. Okay. Now, people, it was said that this was, the U.S., the Army was sent in on some kind of reconnaissance, some kind of mission, right? Just roaming the caves of Afghanistan looking for the Taliban, okay? Cut and dry. And they didn't hit their checkpoint, okay, at some point. And so a search team was sent out, like a rescue special forces squad was sent out to go look for this first team of soldiers that went missing. When they got up to the mountain, they were finding broken equipment. They were finding body parts, okay? And they got up to this cave. This is the second group that came in. They got up to this cave, and a giant red-headed man, like a human, but he's giant, came running out and attacked them, okay? And got one soldier, killed him before the team they were able to take him down, okay? And they killed this giant. All right, well, apparently that was a story, okay? So I was tasked with remote viewing. It was the giant of Kandahar. I immediately, when I was remote viewing this, I was picking up on, my data was talking about the New World Order and Elysium and off-planet civilizations and things like that. Let's see, what all my data say? Oh, order out of chaos. It was like super New World Order stuff, and so I didn't know what this was. And I was picking up on a cannibal, okay? Something that eats humans. And I was picking up on bounty hunters, targeted, and they hit a bullseye. Whatever this was a bullseye, okay? And I also, my data also said something about locals in a no-go zone, okay? So taking all this data that I'm getting, I got page after page of data of this, whatever this was I was looking at, came to the conclusion, when we finally got the data all put together, and then I got information about what my target was, okay? After all this data, we put it all together, and it appeared as though the U.S. military, I guess it was the U.S. military, I can't even say anymore, I thought it was a military, had sent they went out on a mission to go obtain a sample of a giant. And they knew exactly where they were going, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they got up to this cave that the locals knew as a no-go zone because they had giants there. There had always been giants there. They were living, I was picking up on inner earth as well, okay? And they knew not to go there because it was so dangerous. The Army was sent there. They had a helicopter on standby, actually, to obtain this sample, all right? So they knew what they were getting themselves into. They went there on a mission. A bunch of bounty hunters, actually, this is all according to my data, okay, just my data. Take it or leave it, and Yeah, and they got their sample. And whatever this is being used for, I'm assuming cloning purposes, perhaps. That comes up in my data quite often, too, with these cryptids, is cloning. When I'm remote viewing it. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's a cool one. All right, let's move on because I know I'm running out of time. All right, so I have Paul Bunyan, you guys. Okay, now I put this like distorted picture up here because this is from I think it's either the Wisconsin or the Minnesota Historical Society. They asked not to use this picture. Okay, it's copyrighted or something. I don't know. So I distorted it. Okay, and I showed y'all today. So I don't know. I don't know if this is legal. Y'all don't tell anybody. Okay. I tried to get artsy with it. Okay, well, there's a sketch. Okay, so Paul Bunyan is a fictional character. Okay, he was used back in, 1910 or something like that. I know my southern accent's coming out. I'm sorry. I just noticed I got real country on y'all. Okay, so this was back, I think it was in the early 1900s. There was a lumbering company that used the picture of Paul Bunyan, like the character, this gigantic 8-foot tall man who had his blue ox. What was her name? I forgot the blue ox. Babe, yes. Thank you, Babe. And he was like a symbol of American strength back then, and masculinity and just. He was ready to whoop some butt. He was a big dude. And so turns out one of my remote viewing buddies, who was part of my team, Glenn, he tasked me with this target, okay? And the target was the person that the character Paul Bunyan was based off of, or something like that, okay? And I the target with my data, I was picking up on a Sasquatch. Okay, now this is the picture that Glenn had, okay? Does that look like a human to you guys, fully human? No, it didn't to me either, okay? It didn't to Glenn. That's why he assigned me this target, this blind target. And yeah, when I get a target, y'all, I get a set of 8 numbers. Okay, so 8 numbers. I came up, this is a type 4 Sasquatch, like a Neanderthal type of Sasquatch that I got. And it was based on, it was from a 1916 promotional pamphlet. But see, in oral tradition amongst all the lumberjacks, they had stories of an 8-foot tall, superhuman lumberjack, a man that they worked with that could basically pick up trees with his bare hands and stuff. Y'all, I can't even pick up firewood, okay? It's really heavy. I mean, I can, but, it's really heavy. Okay, so there's, oh no, I just skipped over something. Arrow? Okay, hold on. Boom, there we go. Okay, so real quick, I wanted to touch on modern-day pterosaur sightings. This is something else that I have remote viewed are one. I'm going to say one. Personal encounter of Jason McLean, a friend of mine who does, he has a show called Jason McLean Questions Everything with Texas Front Porch. He had a very interesting modern-day pterosaur sighting. He tasked me with, I was tasked with remote viewing his sighting, okay? And this guy was a skeptic, too, with remote viewing, but my data was chock full of everything that happened to him the exact day that he saw this pterosaur, okay? Now, that is what they look like. That's not a real one, okay, right here. This is just a representation of pterosaurs. These things are being seen all over North America right now. Okay, and they have been for a while. It's not just this, not only pterosaurs, pterodactyls, but regular, like velociraptors are being seen in the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, now, this is a picture, Jason and I both agreed that bottom picture of that kid, that's a kid, holding a small creature, that out of all the pictures that we've seen, could be legit. We don't know for positive that that's legit or not, but I absolutely did remote view this. They are real. The data was saying that they've been here all along, and they're not like interdimensional beings or anything like that. They're just here. It's just we just don't see them. They live in caves. They're good at hiding, and a lot of people are seeing them. You'll see that map over there. It shows you the states in red have the most sightings. Jason saw his in Texas. Where, by the way, in Texas, y'all, they got a lot of goatmen in Texas, okay, like goatmen, weird stuff, a lot of pterosaurs. I did interview a guy on Saturday when I was out in Las Vegas, Javier from Cryptid 559. He and his partner had a sighting in Fresno, California, of a gigantic pterosaur. He said that the way he described it was they were actually out there looking for Dogman. They had a Dogman sighting. And across the river from where they were, across this body of water, they heard a screech. And they thought that it was a crane. You know what a crane is, those birds with the long necks and the long wingspan. And they said this bird kind of came up out of the bush, and it put its arms, its wings up in the air, and it did one swoop, and it catapulted into the air, and its wings looked like bat wings. And he said they realized that was not a crane at all. I don't think it had a tail on that one, but a lot of times you do hear they have a tail with a diamond shape on the back of it. So, yeah, we have all sorts of pterosaur sightings in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all over the South. So go figure. It's really odd, right? Okay, so I want to touch on this really quick because we were talking about the dangers of these cryptids and some of these attacks. I've been tasked, how am I doing on time, y'all? I got a minute? I need to bring Barry up? Okay, just a couple minutes. I'm gonna touch on this. Let me see what my next slide is real quick. Oh yeah, then we're gonna talk about local cryptids, and I'm bringing Barry up. Okay, so this is from a case. This happened in 2021. We've been having a lot of reports of unspecified animal attacks all over the United States over the past few years. A lot of these attacks, these deaths, are being blamed on packs of wild dogs. All right, now how many of y'all have seen packs of wild dogs running around trying to kill people? Okay, not to say it doesn't happen, all right, not to say it. A lot of times people's dogs will get out and they will attack, okay? But this is a case, and I don't usually show their pictures when I'm doing my live shows and stuff, because just out of respect. But I'm gonna show y'all today. These are two different people. This is Amber Miller and Tony Ahrens. And I was asked to, I remote viewed what happened to both of these people. And in addition to, I did a whole bunch of different attacks. There were like 3 different attacks, 3 different targets that I was given. One of them was a death of a bow hunter in Texas. Okay, it was suspected, the people who gave me that target, they had suspected he had been killed by a dog man. Now, these 2 people right here, they were both killed on the same road. Amber was killed she wasn't killed, she was attacked on July 12th of 2021. Tony was attacked on April 1st of 2021 on this road in Cocke County, Tennessee, East Tennessee. And they were attacked by packs of wild dogs, both of them. Now, you would have thought they would have got that pack of wild dogs after they got Tony, right? But apparently they didn't. Amber was only 29 years old. Tony was in his 50s, I believe. And both of them were attacked when their bodies were found, and Amber was still alive. Amber had lost over 90% of her flesh. I know, and I'm not trying to gross you guys out today. I'm very sorry, but I just wanted to cover this because it's something that it's coming up a lot, and this is all these animal attacks, and which we're going to get into it. Is what this was. I'll try to be quick on this. So when Amber was found, they took her to the hospital. She was missing about 90% of her flesh. The entire hospital staff, her family, the police, they were all put under a gag order with the judge. Okay. There had been dogman sightings, cryptid sightings, all sorts of weird stuff being sighted in this area. Now, if any of you are familiar with East Tennessee, there's something known as Oak Ridge Lab there in East Tennessee. And there's rumors that there's a large hadron collider. I just got goosebumps, so yeah, it's resonating. But there's an alleged large hadron collider, just like CERN. I think they worked on the Manhattan Project there, perhaps. A lot of strange cryptids are coming out of that area. A lot of strange cryptids. This is not too far from there. It's about it. Yeah, well, I said a large hadron collider. They actually, it's like CERN, C-E-R-N, CERN out of Switzerland. They work on a program or a project called ALICE, A-L-I-C-E. I believe it's a large hadron or a large, some kind of collider. I don't know. Y'all have to look it up. I'm so sorry. I don't know it's an acronym, but it's ALICE, like going down the rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? What is it? Yes, I'm saying hydrin. It's hedrin. Sorry. It's like Max Hedrin. Okay, so, all right, so I'm saying it wrong, y'all. I'm a Bigfoot researcher. I don't know what I'm talking about, okay? But anyways, okay, so there's a lot of strange cryptids coming out of this area. It was very suspicious, to say the least, as to how these people died, but it was blamed on a group of wild dogs. There was a man who lived down the road who had some presicanarios or something like that, and they were kind of blamed for that, but no dogs were ever euthanized or anything over this. And so it was very odd. It was even more odd that the entire staff of the hospital, her family, everybody, was put under a gag order immediately to keep quiet about it. She lived for 5 or 6 days until she did succumb to her injuries. I looked into these 2 attacks, 2 separate targets. I did not see a pack of wild dogs attack these people. Okay, now both of them, they were put under the microscope of their personal lives. Basically, in the news, they were saying, well, they're drunks or on drugs. Not like they deserved it, but they were really attacking their character big time. And these poor people did not deserve that. Like, oh, they were just drunk or drugged out, and they stumbled into a pack of wild dogs, basically. Now, when I remote viewed it, my data was very strange, very weird. I did not see, on both of these, I was seeing attacks on people. I was seeing a large animal, a large creature attacking someone, okay, in both of these cases. And the only way I could describe it, what I wrote down on my paper was zombie bear, okay, a zombie bear. And it was quite weird and quite shocking, but it wasn't a bear, but it was something else, but I'd never seen anything like this before, okay? And I didn't know exactly what it was. Now, let's fast forward about a month. I kind of put that information away, and I was like, all right, that's weird. I was a little embarrassed, telling everybody I was a zombie bear, that got these people. But I was contacted by someone who is one of my viewers who had seen a video on Israeli news, and the gentleman was talking about the government, the military, apparently going before Congress and asking for the funding to be changed on I guess it was like a dark project or some kind of project they've been working on, black project. Okay, so if someone out there is familiar with this, where they were injecting Special Forces soldiers with bear DNA, okay, and wolf DNA, and they were putting them out in pairs, male and female, potentially to breed all over the world. And one of the spots where they had placed 2 of these were in East Tennessee. So can I say that's what might have attacked them? Now, they were changing the funding because I guess they had to eradicate them. They had gone on a killing spree or something, and they were causing a lot of carnage, apparently. And it was just a bad look. It was not good. Now, potentially, I'm not saying that's what happened to Tony or Amber, but it's just food for thought, as Barry says, okay? Now, I know I don't want to leave you guys with something really horrible, so we're going to talk really quick about these local cryptids that we have here, and then I'm going to bring Barry up for a few minutes. There's some really cool cryptids out here, okay? And I know I put this together late last night, so it's kind of, look, I'm giving a high school presentation here today, but we have some really weird stuff. We have a lot of dogman reports coming out of this area. We have Sasquatch, Mothman reports, okay? The Ozark Howler, I'm not sure how far the Ozarks are from here. I went ahead and put that on up, okay? Because I know my buddy D.A. Roberts lives in Missouri, not too far from here, and he talks about the Ozark Howler all the time. That's a dogman type creature. And we have the Enfield monster. Okay, that's a weird one. This one down at the bottom, it's like a 3-legged, gray, hairy, pink-eyed something or another. I don't know what that thing is. It looked like people thought it could have been an escaped kangaroo. So, which is interesting because Barry and I are going to mention something that could be like a kangaroo that we remote viewed as well. So, and is it the Pisa bird? The Pisa bird. Is that the Pisa bird? Yes, that's a really cool one. We actually saw that painted on the wall on the side of that cavern, that cave when we drove in on Thursday. For the people who are not familiar with that, I don't know if y'all have heard about this yet. I wrote some facts down. I guess it's facts. I wrote some stuff down about it. It's as large as a calf with horns like a deer, horrible red eyes, beard like a tiger, a man's face, body covered in scales with a long tail with a fish tail at the very end of its tail. What the heck, y'all? That's weird, right? That's a weird one. It sounds like a chimera in the purest sense there. But the story behind it is that this creature that's painted on the wall down there, it was eating people. It was attacking and killing and eating people. And there was an Indian chief who they were like, we got to get rid of this thing, okay? And so he actually used himself as bait, which sounds familiar. I like being bait. But he used himself for bait. They lured this thing out of the cave one day, and the creature actually ended up killing him. But as it was attacking him, all of the bravest warriors shot it with poisoned arrows and killed it. So very interesting story, you guys. Thank you all so much. We're going to talk about some of our targets that Barry has given me over the past year or two. And so we're going to do that because a lot of these targets do have to do with the secret space program. Okay, so thank you all for listening to this. I'm going to bring Barry up now. Come on, Barry. Okay.
You really don't
oh,
need
really?
me up here.
Okay. Well, no, I do need Barry. Barry's like, y'all, you don't need me up here. Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. Barry assigns me these targets, and I don't know what the heck they are. Okay. And even after I do them, I'm a channel for the data, basically, and Barry can decipher it all. Now, Barry, you gave me the target at one point of TRAPPIST-1, a star system. Tell the audience a little bit about what the TRAPPIST-1 system is.
If you're not familiar with TRAPPIST-1, it's one of the new solar systems that they found that has several exoplanets in it that are within what they call the Goldilocks zone, which is habitable. And I became interested in this when I heard Linda Moulton Howe on one of her Earth files. She had a guy, what was it, Buddy Bolton? Mm-hmm. He remote viewed this area, and he saw certain things. I think it was the third and fourth planets that are or maybe the third and fifth, that are these habitable planets here. And he was seeing like amphibious type of beings and stuff like that. And I gave this to her as a blind target. I just wanted to see what she got. Was it similar to him and kind of where it was at there? And I feel energy coming from that, and also the fact that they have the new James Webb telescope, and they've pointed it in that way, in that direction to look at TRAPPIST-1, but we're not getting any information. It's been classified. How do you classify space? So anyway, so I'll step back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the one where I was seeing Earth, right? Is this the one where I was seeing what I thought was Earth?
Yeah, the high rises and stuff.
So my data immediately, I was being sent through a wormhole, right, on this one, and I ended up on a planet that I thought was Earth in the future. Okay, this is the one with the slavery, right? Okay, all right, so this is a little sad, it's a little odd. I was not, like I said, you guys, I've said a million times, I've not been familiar with the secret space program. I was seeing, the first thing I saw on this target was an elevator. It was like a large elevator, a big pulley, like a pulley system, and a lot of mechanics going on. I was seeing, they were mining for natural resources wherever I was. Mining for natural resources, I was picking up on slavery, people being held against their will. I was also picking up on high-rise buildings, mid-rise apartments, shopping centers, vehicles, roadway systems. I mean, it looked just like Earth, okay? It looked like a major city like Atlanta or New York or somewhere, but in the future, okay? And I was also seeing humans and humanoids, I'm just gonna say humanoids, okay? Because I don't think they were all completely human. And and I told, Barry always asks me at the end of these targets when I get done, he goes, okay, what did you think that was? And I was like, well, Earth in the future. And it sucks because there's slavery going on there. You know, what was that? And what did you think?
You know, something that really stuck out to me about that is there was another gentleman, Linda Moulton Howe, he's a whistleblower. It was probably a couple of weeks ago. And he had talked about how you've got factions that are in this particular galaxy that specialize in slavery. You know, Tony talked to me about that a lot in Cocoa Beach, but it's really frightening, I think, and I think this ties into so much what is going on here with the experiencers that have had SSP or abduction type of contact. I think that's why I'm kind of here, because I've not had like that, but in the regressions I've done with people, it comes out. And these are people not into this stuff, they're people into yoga or whatever, but it comes out that they've had for generations the government, the big brother harassing them and stuff like that. So I think this is a good place to bring this together and make a tapestry.
Yeah, well, let's go to the next one, because I know we're kind of running out of time. What was this, the dwarf planets?
Yeah.
Do you know the name of it exactly? So Barry tasked me with remote viewing some ET bases on 3 different dwarf planets. It was Make, is that Haimea, Make, and what is the other one? Not Syrah, I forgot the name of it. Sedna. I can't believe I remembered that. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't even remember what my data was on this one. Tell the audience, Barry.
I did this base, and I'll address some of this during my presentation, but in one of my experiences in childhood, I was told about these bases. When the being I wanted to know where it's from, he told me I couldn't understand. It's like 900 million light years out. I couldn't, so he says, in my mind, focus on the 3rd and 4th planets outside of Pluto. They're bases that we jump off from to deal with the density in your solar system. We have a problem with it. And at that time, I thought maybe as a kid, I was maybe being lied to. There was no such thing as planets outside of Pluto. I don't even think Charon, the moon, had been found yet. And I'm sitting in my office, probably about 33 years old, and they discovered these things called trans-Neptunian objects. And that's another Kuiper belt that's outside of Pluto. And there's several planetoids out there, maybe even bigger than Pluto, that made Pluto, they say Pluto might not even be a planet anymore. So that's kind of what I wanted to see. And just, it's cool because these things show that they're real. It's not really about me. It was kind of a selfish target a little bit. But I want to know what you got from it and what you discovered. And you picked up on scalar waves. You had that on there, scalar waves and time bomb.
Ticking time bomb.
Yeah, and you know, that comes with what this being had told me about a net. And I've noticed as a kid, a net, when you come into this solar system, it starts at Saturn, goes over to Mars, goes to our moon, and into sacred sites here. It's this net we come through, and it has an electrical field that kind of hits our orgone field of our spirit, and it wipes our soul life memories, and why so many of us incarnate here devoid of soul life memories. I think that's a serious issue, and she's picking that up, and I think that this net is also affecting people, like in this room, all of us that are psychic, mediums, and people that would have other types of contact from beings that are coming from the Akashic records and more celestial type of beings, and it gets phased out by this scalar frequency we're all being bombarded with, and also the kind of entrenched feel of negative encounters. That is so strong, and our personal will can take over and actually change an experience we're having. We're not nearly as weak as we're believe or led to believe. So
Yeah.
I think, and it's cool because I think it ties into a lot of what's being talked to. I'm not an expert on SSP either, but I'm trying to put some of these things together and understand, and I'm very blessed to be here, so thank you.
Yeah, and it keeps coming up in my data. So this was one of the cooler targets. I mean, they're all cool, all these targets. But Barry tasked me with the weaponization of Earth's natural portals. And let me tell you, when I got into this target, I was watching things coming in and out of the sun, like spaceships and stuff. Which I thought was interesting because of course, these are blind targets. I have no idea what the target is. But somehow, Earth's natural weaponized portals had something to do with the sun up there. So tell the audience why you had me look into this, Barry.
I was going for Earth's natural weaponized portals. I've heard scientists talking about how there's no doubt that portals exist, but how they're trying to control them and weaponize them. So I just wanted to see what you saw on that. But I mean, you immediately went to the sun. And that takes me into more things like we know about SOHO, and we see certain ships in SOHO going in and out of the cold spots, and also deflecting solar flares that are Earth directed. So I think this kind of goes to that, but that's another civilization trying to weaponize the portals, or the sun itself. And I think this goes into somewhat what Tony was talking about yesterday, which is actually the artificial building of stars, but it's the same thing. And for us to understand that our sun is truly a portal, and those dark spots or cold spots are actually portals themselves. And between the sun and Earth, the magnetic fields, you have a thing called diffusion regions, okay? And that's where the fields meet, It opens these doors, like so many seconds every few minutes. It's been documented. And these are things that any civilization that is using, as they say, Type 4, space itself as its primary power source, would be doing this and using that. And it blew me away when you did this one. You did do really good work, so thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it. Okay. So the cryptid, this is the Cryptid Hunters remote viewing. No, this was actually the Intergalactic Council. Barry, tell me the exact name of this. Barry had me, I was remote viewing something that he had experienced his whole life.
This one, I didn't want it to ever go public because I felt selfish for doing this. But, this is the alliance that I've been dealing with my whole life. And it took till I was 36 years old before I ever even got a name. And the name they gave me was Extragalactic Interdimensional Cooperative Alliance. I was out walking, celebrating my surviving brain injuries at 4 a.m. I stopped and I said, not just telepathy, I said verbally, "Are you kidding me? Am I supposed to tell people that? That's worse than the Ashtar Command, the Galactic Federation. I'm getting laughed out of the, you know what I mean?"
It's a mouthful, for sure.
But what's very cool is when you first say, "What is this?" I'm seeing a lot of wormholes leading to a central place. And and that's what's dealing with the micro and the macro. And I did this because for me, I think as many of you that have had experiences, when I went to the media in childhood, throughout adolescence, I was not seeing the beings I was interacting with. I was not seeing anything that was similar to what I was going through. And on top of that, I wasn't seeing anyone that looked like me, whether extraterrestrials or contactees. It was rather stressful,
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Okay, do you want to go? Let's go to the next one because we're kind of running out of time.
That's a good one.
This is a good one, y'all. This is a good one. You guys have heard of the chupacabra, right? Okay. Well, this is one of my more recent targets that Barry gave me, and I didn't know what the chupacabra was. He gave me some numbers. Okay, I didn't know what I was looking at. I actually thought I was remote viewing a dinosaur. Okay, and which I thought was really cool. And this is not exactly what I saw, but my data was saying dinosaur, reptile, and a mammal at the same time. Mammal, reptile, dinosaur. I had all sorts of really weird data on this, Barry. I'll go ahead and tell you guys, actually. This was the target was the chupacabra that escaped a lab in Puerto Rico in 1995. Okay, it was a specific type of chupacabra. So Barry, tell everybody about this.
In 95, I was listening to Art Bell every night, believe that. He was talking about this. And at that time, he put a picture of it up on his website. But in 1995, it wasn't that easy to get on a computer and get online. But I found a magazine. It was either Nexus or UFO magazine back then. And the picture was in there. And then suddenly, the whole thing about the chupacabra changed 20 years later on Monster Quest. They're showing some type of a dog that either suffering from mange or maybe even a thylacine and Tasmanian tiger, which I think still exists. But this is the original one. Things that really stuck out about me, this especially, when I was at the, what's the name of that ranch over in Washington? No, I'm just kidding. I was at his SETI in 2019. I talked with John Ravinko, and there's a video we did that's on my YouTube channel, and I've got videos for all these targets on there that I try to show illustrations and make the connection after she'd done the viewing. But the viewing that he got, I want to see what Jessica got that was compared to what he got. He had mentioned, his team got, he had mentioned that this being was not just hopping around, but it appeared to be a marsupial. And once the child emerged leaves the pouch, the mother hunts it down. To eat it, yeah. And also this thing that doesn't show is, it was said to have these spikes. And these spikes actually were glowing different colors. They changed color. That's a radiation factor, definitely. So several things we deal with what we call chimeras, and also here, this illustration isn't as good, but there's supposed to be webs between the arms, kind of like when I was a kid, the Spider-Man comics I used to see had the webs between them so he could glide, but that's what they're reported to have. So you're dealing with several species when we deal with some type of, the word I can only say is abomination. It also has some type of hypnotic ability too. And most importantly, that really caught my interest is it has what's called proboscis, which is actually the thing that comes out like a mosquito, how they suck us. For anybody, I don't want to ruin lunch, but anybody remembers Jeff Goldblum as Brundle-Fly, the fly? He couldn't eat solid, so he... But anything with that, that's a very unique thing that is, that's an insect, for the most part, insect characteristic. So, it's just interesting, I think.
But they're known as a goat sucker. That's what chupacabra means, I believe. And that's what the tongue would come out and do. It would come out and suck all the blood up, okay? And we have one last one, I believe. Let's do Mel's Hole real quick. Let's do Mel's Hole. Let's see. This is the last one, you guys, for today. This is the most popular remote viewing investigation I ever did on my YouTube channel. Barry had our friend Tanya Braddock and I remote view Mel's Hole. And you guys are familiar with Mel's Hole, right? Okay, from Art Bell. Barry, do you want to tell him about Mel's Hole?
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I don't know a whole lot about Mel's Hole. I kind of do now. It was a little embarrassing saying I was going to remote view Mel's Hole on air, so that was weird. But yeah, it's yeah. Apparently there was a man who called into the Art Bell show. His name was Mel. I believe this was Washington State. And he said that he had a hole on his property, and people, the neighbors, everybody would throw stuff down in this hole, and it had no bottom to it. They would throw appliances, dead animals down there, cars, you name it. They would throw it down inside this hole. It had no bottom to it. He eventually had gotten some fishing line and sent it down like 15 miles or something down into this hole. It never hit bottom of it, and they even got to the point where they were sending animals down it, and it would come back, and the animals would be dead, or just one animal. What did they put it?
The tumor seal.
The tumor seal came out of it. I don't know if y'all are familiar with all that. They actually sent a man down one of the holes. They ended up having 2 Mel's holes, and they sent a man down, and he came out and lost his mind. Okay, so Barry decided to give me this as a remote viewing target. And thank God I had backup. We had Tanya doing it too. So Barry, tell everybody about Mel's Hole, please.
Real quick, I know we're running out of time, so I'll hit this quick. First of all, something else that really caught my attention on this is when he described lowering ice way down, like miles and miles into this thing. When they brought it back up, it was smoldering and glowing. And one of the people on his team took it to their cabin and used it as a power source, and supposedly it melted part of the cabin down into the ground, and the government came and seized it. Yeah. Now, this seal that came out of this goat that they lowered down into the hole, brought back up, it died, but had these tumors on it. They cut it open, and this seal was inside, they said, that had human's eyes that they didn't kill, but it jumped back into the hole. The people of the area, the Basques, say that that seal still communicates with them through radio frequencies. And it said that ice, that glowing ice, was very dangerous and could destroy our whole planet. And when I hear the description of that, it doesn't only sound like nitrogen, but also what they call the smoky god from inner earth, how that sun is portrayed. So anyway, point being that when they remote viewed this, the data that they got separately, it was very similar, all right? And they both are saying they're seeing this thing rotating, okay? Several times you both said that rotating, and everything leads this to being science technology, time science would call a Tipler cylinder, okay, made by Michael Tipler.
We both picked up on it being a wormhole.
Yeah.
Which is odd. And by the way, this is not the actual hole, okay? This is just a representation of a hole. That's not Mel's Hole, okay?
And I apologize. I don't have a picture
Yeah,
of
we just put that on there.
cylinder up here. It's on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, and Google Maps, Google Earth, they have blocked out where these holes are supposed to be. There's 2 of them, actually. You can't find it on a map.
What a Tipler cylinder is a cylinder that is actually rotating around this longitudinal axis. And what that creates is called closed time-like curves from inertial drag frame. And the Earth has that too. There's inertial drag frame around that. So these closed time-like curves can be used for time travel, especially to the past, not especially the future, and also for matter transport. So what you're seeing here is something that is using Earth and the axis and the frame drag of Earth as a Tipler cylinder. I mean, I never expected to hear that and bring that to what they saw. And it was, the data was there from both of them independently, so that's all.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, y'all. Thank y'all so much for listening today, and I hope y'all enjoyed it.